Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In this video, we will start designing this testimonials page using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is how it looks. We can see that we have this first section over here where we have the list of companies, and then we have the testimonials of the customers. And here we also have these videos of the customers, and we can play the videos over here. We can also make it full screen, and then here we have the actual review and the name of the person and the designation. And here we also have this button called show more. So if I click on that, we can see that 2 more testimonials are displayed over here, and you can go ahead and play these videos as well. And then we have the show more button once again, so let's click on that, and then we have the last testimonial displayed over here, and now we don't have the show more button displayed. And then lastly, we can see that we have this section where we have the call to action. We can just click on this try it button, and this is basically going to be a link, and you can add the link of any page over here. And this is also completely responsive. So if I decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look on a smaller screen. Here we can see that we have a different layout for the icons. So here we can see we have 2-column layout, and the font size also decreases. And here we have all these testimonials displayed one below the other, and here also we have the show more button, and then lastly we have the call to action. So this is what we're going to design in this video, so let's get started. Alright, here I have created this folder called testimonials page, and I just opened it with VS Code. Now here I also have this folder called images, where we have all these images which we're going to use in our design. And I also have this folder called videos, and these videos are going to be used in our testimonials. So let's go ahead and start by creating the necessary files. So let's click on new file, and let's create an HTML file. I'll just name it index.html. And let's create a CSS file. I'll just name it style.css. And we also need to have a JavaScript file. I'll just name it main.js. And let's start with the index.html file. So we can just press exclamation and press tab, and you'll have this basic HTML5 code. Let's link our CSS file over here. So I'll just type link and press tab, and here I'll just type style.css. And let's link our JavaScript file over here. So I'll just type main.js. So the first thing we will do is we'll create a container division, and let's give it a class of testimonials container. And in that we need to have sections for each of these different sections. So I'll just create a section tag, and in that the first thing we need to have is this heading. So let's type h2, and here let's type trusted by, and then we need to have these logos. So for that, let's create a division with the class of logos container. And now let's add img tags for the logos. So let's type img, and in the src let's type images /, and here we have all these logos. So I'll just quickly go ahead and add all these logos. So we have Pinterest, Netflix, Amazon, Reddit, Spotify and HubSpot. So I'll just type Pinterest logo.png, and I'll just duplicate these 5 more times, and let's change these logos. So next we have Netflix, and then we have Amazon, and then we have Reddit, Spotify and HubSpot. And now let's open this in our browser, and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you install this extension, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now we can see that our elements in the HTML are displayed in the browser. Right, now let's move on to the next section, which is this section with the testimonials. So let's create a section tag. Now in this we need to have an h2, and let's type this heading. So I'll just copy this, and I'll just paste it over here. And then we need to have all these testimonials. So I'll just create 2 testimonials over here. So I'll just create a division with a class of testimonials. Now in this, for each of the testimonials, we need to have a division with the class of testimonial. So I'll just type testimonial. And in the testimonial, the first thing we need to have is this video. So I'll just create a division with the class of video, and in that we will have a video tag. And for the src, let's type videos /, and we have this video called testimonial1.mp4, and then after the video we need to have the review. So I'll just copy this from here and let's paste it over here. I'll just give it a class of review, and let's paste the review over here, and then we need to have the name of the person. Now for the name, I'll just create a division with the class of name, and in that we will just copy this name, and then we need to have the designation. So I'll just copy this, and let's create a division with the class of designation, and let's paste it over here. Now we need to have two of these testimonials displayed in the beginning, so let's go ahead and copy this. So I'll just copy this testimonial division and I'll just paste it one more time, and I'll just change the details. So here for the video, let's change this to testimonial2.mp4, and then let's go ahead and copy this testimonial text, and I'll just paste it over here, and then we need to have the name and the designation. Right now, let's go outside this main division, which is the testimonials division, and let's create a button. So for the button, we need to have this text show more, and for the button, I'll just give it a class of show more button, and let's tap show more. And here we can see we have all these videos and the show more button. And then the last thing we need to have is this section right here. So let's create a section for that. I'll just create a section tag, and let's create an h2, and I'll just copy this h2 from here, and let's paste it over here. Now let's create a paragraph tag, and I'll just copy this text from here, and let's paste it over here. And then lastly, we need to have this button. So for that, we'll create an anchor tag, and let's give it a class of btn, and here let's type try it now. And with that, we have completed writing the HTML of our design. So let's go back to our web browser, and here we can see that all the elements are displayed over here. Now let's go to our CSS and let's start styling this. Now the first thing we will do is we will style this testimonials container. So let's tap dot testimonials container, and let's go ahead and give it a max width of 900 pixels. And let's set the margin to 24 pixels, and for left and right, let's tap auto, so it is in the center. And let's set the line height of all the text to 1.9, and let's also set the font family, and let's set it to Roboto and sans serif. Right now, let's give a basic padding to all the sections in general. So I'll just type testimonials container section, and let's give it a padding of 20 pixels top and bottom, and 0 for left and right. Right now, let's style the h2. So here we can see for all these headings we have h2. So here I'll just type testimonials container h2, and let's give it a font size of 40 pixels, and let's set the line height of the heading to 1.2. And for the headings, we will have a different font. So I'll just type font family, and let's set it to Poppins and sans serif. Now if you go back to the original design, here we can see that we also have these underlines for all these headings, except this one right here. So let's go ahead and add a before selector for this. So I'll just type testimonials container h2 : before, and using the before selector, you can add extra information to the elements. So if I just tap content, and if I just tap 1, 2, 3, now you can see that 1, 2, 3 is displayed in front of all these headings. So let's go ahead and remove 1, 2, 3 from here, and we need to add a line, and this line should be positioned relative to this h2. So here for the h2, we need to type position relative, and here for the before selector, we need to type position absolute. And let's set the height of the element to 4 pixels, and let's set the width of the element to 60 pixels, and let's set a background color of red, and let's set the bottom position to -8 pixels, and I'll just set the left position to 0, and I think that's it with the underlines. Now for this last heading, we don't want to have the underline. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a class to the last section. So here for the last section, I'll just give it a class. And let's give it a class of dark because we have a dark background over here. So I'll just tap dark. And now let's set the styling for the h2 inside the dark section. So here I'll just type section.dark h2. Let's target the before selector. So I'll just type before. And here I'll just type height and let's set it to 0. And now we can see that the underline is not being displayed for the last section, but for all the other sections we have the underline. Right, now let's go ahead and style this logos section over here. So here we can see that we have 3 logos in a row. So let's go back and let's go to the HTML file, and for the logos we have this division with the class of logos container. So here let's type testimonials container, logos container, and let's set the display to grid. And now we can see that all the logos are one below the other. Now we need to specify how many columns we need to have. So for that you can just type grid template columns, and I'll just set the repeat to 3, and we will have a width of 1 fr, which is 1 fractional unit. And now we can see that we have 3 elements in a row. Now let's also add a height to these images. So here we can see inside the logos container we have img tags. So here I'll just type testimonials container img, and let's set the height of the image to 30 pixels. Here I'll just specifically type logos container so that we don't have any problems later. And now we can see that we have the correct height for all these images. Now let's add some gap between these elements. So here in the logos container, let's set a gap of 32 pixels. And we'll also bring all these images to the center of each of the cells inside the grid. So for that you can just type place items, and let's set it to center. Right, now let's go ahead and add some padding. So here let's type padding, and let's set the padding to 32 pixels. And let's also add a box shadow. So just type box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 0.1 for the opacity. And now we can see we have this box shadow. Right, now let's go ahead and style these testimonials. So the testimonials are inside this division with the class of testimonials, and in that we have these divisions with the class of testimonial for each of the testimonials. So let's go ahead and type testimonials, and let's set the display to grid, and let's set the grid template columns to 1fr 1fr because we need to have 2 columns with the same width. And let's also set a gap of 24 pixels. And now we can see that the testimonials are one next to the other, but these videos are too large. So let's set a height for these videos. Now the videos are inside this testimonial division. So let's type testimonial video, and let's set the height to 220 pixels. Now we need to have full width for these videos. So let's go back to the video tag, and here let's tap width, and let's set it to 100%. And let's do the same for this video as well. So I'll just have width of 100%. Right, now we need to specify the width of each of the testimonials. So here we can see we have these divisions with the class of testimonial. So here I'll just tap testimonial, and let's set the flex to 1 so that all of them have the same width. And now let's go ahead and set a padding. So let's set the padding to 16 pixels, and let's also add a box shadow for this. So I'll just tap box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 4 pixels, 40 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 0.2. Right, now if you go back to the original design, here we can see we also have these controls for the video. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to our HTML file, and here for the videos we need to add an attribute called controls, and let's do the same for this video as well. So just tap controls, And now we can see we have the controls for the videos. Now here we can see even for the video we have this padding, but in the original design for the videos we don't have the padding. So let's go back and let's go to the style.css file, and here we can see we have added a padding to the container division, which is testimonial. So we need to target the video. So the videos are inside the division with the class of video. So I'll just target that. I'll just type testimonial video, and here we need to add a negative margin. So I'll just type margin minus, and we need to add a negative margin of 16 pixels because we have added a padding of 16 over here. So let's type 16 pixels. And now we can see we don't have any padding for the videos. Now since we added this margin, we can see that even for the bottom we have a margin of negative value. So I'll just type margin bottom, and I'll just reset it back to 0. And now it looks alright. Now if we go back to the original design, here we can see that for the testimonial text we don't have much text, we just have a text of one line. But here this name and designation has moved down to match with this name and designation over here. So let's go ahead and do that. So for that, let's go back to our HTML file, and I'll just wrap both these elements inside a division, and I'll just call it bottom. And let's do the same for this one right here. So I'll just type bottom, and now let's go ahead and target this division right here. So I'll just type testimonial bottom, and we need to push it to the bottom. So for that we need to set the display of this testimonial to flex. So here let's type display of flex, and we also need to have a flex direction. So let's type flex direction, and let's set it to column. Now here for the bottom division we need to type margin top and set it to auto. And now we can see that the name and the designation has moved down. Now let's target these elements. So let's target the name, and for the name we have this division with the class of name. So let's type testimonial name, and let's set the font weight to bold, and let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and we'll set the line height to 1.2, and let's set a margin top of 20 pixels. Now let's style this designation. So for the designation we have this division with the class of designation. So here I'll just type testimonial designation, and let's set the font size to 14 pixels, and let's set the opacity to 0.8. And I think that's it with the testimonials. Now let's go ahead and style this button. So for the button we have a button tag. So let's type testimonials container button, and we also have this button for this last section over here. So we have an anchor tag with a class of btn. So let's target that as well. I'll just type testimonials container a.btn, and let's go ahead and set a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right, and let's set the border to none, and let's set a margin of 24 pixels top and bottom and 0 for left and right, and let's set the font size to 16 pixels, and let's set the background color to 003049, and let's set the color of the text to white, and let's set the cursor to pointer. Now for the other button we need to have some different styling, so let's target that differently. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it down here, and here first of all let's remove the underline. So I'll just type text decoration and set it to none, and for this button we need to have a different background color. So I'll just type background of E63946, and we need to increase the font size. So I'll just type font size, and let's set it to 30 pixels, and let's set the text transform to uppercase, and let's set the font weight to bold. I think we can decrease the font size a little bit, so I'll just set it to 24 pixels, and that looks alright. Right now let's style the last section. So here we can see we have a section with a class of dark. So here I'll just type section dark, and let's set the background color to this dark color right here, and let's set the color of all the text to white, And let's add a padding, and I'll just set it to 24 pixels top and bottom and 32 pixels left and right. And let's text align everything to the center. And let's add a little bit of margin top. So I'll just tap margin top, and let's set it to 24 pixels. Right now for this paragraph, let's just decrease the margin a little bit. So I'll just type section dark, and we have a P tag over here. So let's tap P, and let's set the margin top to -16 pixels. And I think for the button, the padding top and padding bottom are not being added. So that's because this button is an anchor tag and it is an inline element by default. So we need to type display of inline block. And now we can see that the padding is being added, and let's also decrease the padding a little bit. So just have padding, and let's set it to, here we have 8 pixels, so let's set it to 4 pixels over here, and 32 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So with that, we have completed designing the desktop version of this testimonials page. Now let's also make it responsive. So let's decrease the width of the browser window, and here let's add a media query. So let's tap at media, and let's set the max width to 800 pixels. So whenever the width of the browser window is less than 800 pixels, all the CSS in this block will be added to our design. So the first thing we will do is we'll just decrease the font size of these. So let's type testimonials container h2, and let's set the font size to 28 pixels. Right now these testimonials should be one below the other. So for that, let's target the container division. So let's tap testimonials, and let's set the grid template columns to just 1 FR. And let's also set the height of the videos. So here we have this selector, testimonial video. So I'll just copy this, and let's paste it down here, and let's type height, and let's set it to 100%. And I think we need to have some gap between this video and this text. So both of them are inside this division with the class of testimonial. So let's type testimonial, and we had already set a display of flex for that. So here we can see we have set a display of flex. So here let's type gap, and let's set the gap to, let's try 16 pixels, and I think we can decrease it a little bit. So let's type 12 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Now I think we can decrease the margin top of this button. So I think we can do this for the desktop version as well. So I'll just add the styles over here. So for this ABTN, let's tap margin top, and let's try 0, and I think we can increase it a little bit. So let's try 8 pixels, and I think that looks alright. And in smaller screens it looks like this. Right now let's also style these icons. So we need to have just 2 columns. So let's scroll up, and we have this selector logos container. So let's copy this, and let's paste it down here. And here let's type grid template columns, and I'll just set it to repeat of 2 with 1 FR. And we'll also set the gap to 60 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So we have designed the mobile version as well. Now in the next video, I'll show you how to add more testimonials over here when we click on this show more button. So we will use JavaScript for that. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.